Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's Lee Halliday, and today what we're going to do is build a dynamic sort of interactive map in React using Mapbox. So to get started, we are going to be using a library called React Map GL, which is made by the team at Uber, and it's a pretty good wrapper sort of around the raw Mapbox JavaScript, so we can use it easily within React. So I've already set up a Create React app that we're going to be using for this demo. And right now it returns this nice map, right, like that. Okay, so we've got that set up. And the only package I've installed to do this is a package called React Map GL. So once you install that, you should be good to go. And whenever you're working with a map, you probably want to put some data onto that map. So for that, I've found a data set from the city of Ottawa in Ontario, Canada, the capital of my country. And it's a nice sort of JSON file that contains every skateboard park within the city of Ottawa. So if we look at the top here, we've got features, which is basically an array of these different skate parks. And here we've got the name of each of them, sort of a description of what's there. And probably most importantly, we've got the latitude and longitude of where to put this skate park on the map. So to get started, we will come here and we'll need to import the map that we're going to use. So we'll be importing from React, what is this thing again? React Map GL. And we can give it the same name, so React Map GL from that. So now we can replace that map with the component we just imported. So we've got React Map GL, and we can just put markers here. So that's where we're going to be putting all of the markers that we want to show up on the map. So whenever we use React Map GL, we need to give it sort of a bunch of information about how to display this map on the screen. That's both the size of it, but it's also sort of where to center the map when it loads, how far to zoom into the map, etc. And to do that, we're actually going to use some state. So we're going to be using hooks for this, and we'll be using use state. And we'll call all of this information that we're going to use to position the map and whatnot called the viewport. So we'll say const viewport and set viewport equals use state. And then in here, we can give it all of the initial viewport information that we need. So we need the latitude. And I've got open here sort of where the center of Ottawa is, just using this GPS coordinates website. So there's our latitude. We've got our longitude, which is -75, like that. We'll say our zoom is 10. And what else do we need? Okay, let's go with that for now. And I think I'm missing something. What am I missing? Width and height, yes. Okay, so width, here you can actually use CSS sort of values. So we can say 100% viewport, and height will do 100% sort of view width and view height, like that. So now that we have sort of our initial viewport info, we can pass all of that along to our React Map component. So we'll do ... viewport, like this. So now we'll come back here, and the first thing we see is we need to give it a valid API access token. So to do this demo, you can create a free account on Mapbox. I've already done that. I've logged in, and I've created a token called Ottawa Skate Parks. So I've got this token here. I'm not too worried if you guys use it because it's just a free one anyway, so I'm not going to get charged or anything. So what I've done is I've taken that key and I've placed it in a .env.local file. And in here is where you can put all your local environment variables. Env.local is by default in the git ignore that comes with Create React app, so it's not going to be commit to your repository. And one secret here, though, is that you need to give all of your environment variables, they all need to start with this React underscore app underscore, and then whatever the name of your token is. If you do not name it with this, it won't show up as available environment variable that you can use in your app. So now that we've got this here, we can come back, just copy this. We'll come back here and we'll pass that as a prop to our Mapbox API token, and its value will be process.env and then the name of the environment variable. So now that we do that, okay. So we now have our map showing up. We'll drag it. Oh, doesn't zoom, doesn't do anything. It's just like this static map sitting here. And that's because with Mapbox, you actually need to control where the map's going to move. And it seems harder than it really is. You see, we've set up this state viewport, and we have a set viewport function we can call. And Mapbox gives us a function we can call. So what is it? On viewport change. And that will give us the new viewport that we can then use and call set viewport. So every time the user sort of drags or zooms or anything, they're basically going to give you a new version of all this info here. And then we can take that new info and we can just call the set viewport, giving it this new viewport info. And that will basically cause the map to re-render because the state's changed. So it's sort of strange, but we now have a map we can drag around and we can zoom in with, like that. So we got this boring map here. It's not boring, it's just the standard one. We can actually modify it to use a whole bunch of different styles that come with Mapbox. So if you go to studio.mapbox.com, you'll have like a bunch of styles you can use, and you can also search them. They've got Mapbox styles. So they've got designer maps where people have sort of modified them in some pretty cool ways, like this one here. So we're going to be using this decimal one. So if we go back to the studio.mapbox.com, I've already got it in my list. The way you get it in your list is you just click add this style. So I've already got it. So how do we use it in our app? You may think you would do share and use. That's not it. You come down here and they've got this style URL. So you want to copy that. So now we can come back to our map and we can say map style, use this one rather than the normal one. So now we have this sort of decimal styled map. It still zooms in, we can drag it around and whatnot. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take all our skate parks and we're going to put them on the map. So where I had markers here, this will feel very much like you're used to with React. We've got all of our skate parks. We want to map them, and for each of those skate parks, we want to produce a marker that shows up. So we'll import marker from this library, and then we'll take our skate parks, which we need to import. So import star as park data from data skateboard parks.json. Okay. So we've got our park data, and if we come back here, we got to go parkdata.features. That gives us our array. And then we can map them, where each of these will be a park, and we want it to return a marker, just like that. So in our marker, we can put a div or anything we want to sort of show up on the screen. So we can just say skate for now. And a marker, just like any other time you're mapping, we should give it a key. So let's see what we have for a unique value here. So each one has properties and then park ID. So we'll use that. Properties.parkID. But it doesn't know where to, see, it's already sort of broken. Viewport, Mercator, project. I think what all this is saying is we haven't told it where to put this marker on the map. we need to give it a latitude and a longitude. So latitude is similar to 45. So if we come back to this data, we've got geometry coordinates, and it looks like they've got longitude first, then latitude in this array. So latitude will be park dot geometry dot coordinates, and it would be the second one, so that would be 1. So now I'm just going to copy that, and we'll change that to longitude, and that's 0. And is it going to show up? No, I'm doing something wrong. Park.geometry.coordinates. Oh, I don't know. Guess it was working. All right, so can't really, because of the color. Actually, if I zoom in here, skate, you can sort of see the word skate showing up, but it obviously looks horrible with black text on a black map. So instead of this div, let's actually put a button. And in this button, we'll put an image. So I've already found this. It's SVG of a little skateboarder. So we're going to be using that image here. So we'll just do public skateboarding.svg, and alt will be skate park icon, like that. And I've already set up a little class we can use called marker button. All it does is interested, just removes the background and border and whatnot of the button, and it sizes this image that I've got inside of it. So now if I come back, it is broken. What is this? Skateboarding.sv. I think it's because you don't actually need that. Sweet. So now we've got our map that's styled, and we've got all of these different skateboarders showing where all the different skate parks are in the city of Ottawa. Cool. So the next step we're going to do is when you click one of these, it's going to pop up one of those little white pop-up areas, and we are going to display the information about the skate park that was clicked. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to create some new state that will basically keep track of which of these skate parks you've clicked on. So we'll say const selected park and set selected park. And we'll be using use state for this, and it will just begin as null. You haven't chosen any of them yet, so it's null. So what I want to do is I want to add an event to this. I guess I could just add it to the button here. So I'll add an on-click event to the button that takes an event. So we'll say we're going to prevent whatever the default event is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to call our state set selected park. And we are going to use the park that, as it's sort of mapping out all of the parks, it's the one attached to this specific marker. So when I click this, it will be for this park. So let's open up our tools, developer tools, React. Oh shoot, did I? Class name. Oops. Okay. React. So if I click one of these, we should be able to see that I must have an old, so I can't see this yet because I'm using an old React Dev Tools that doesn't show hooks very well, but let's figure out if it's being worked, if it's working when I click this button that sets the selected park. And to do that, we will come below all of these parks that we're mapping out, all of the different markers, and we'll do a little ternary operator that basically says, is there a selected park? And so if this is true, it will execute the second part of this. It's not even a ternary, it's like a shortcut. If this is true, it will keep doing this one. And in here, we can put our actual pop-up. We could do this as a ternary where we could say if that is true, we'll do something, else is null because there isn't a selected one. I don't know what that's saying, but let's keep going. Okay, so if there's a selected park, we want to show a pop-up here. So we got to import the pop-up. Pop-up. Now we can come down here and use it. And inside we'll put a div. Park, we'll just put for now, just the word park. So for this pop-up, much like a marker, we need to tell where on the map to show this thing. So what we're going to do is we are going to have to give it the latitude and longitude. And because it's very similar to this up here, it will be selected park.geometry.coordinates, and latitude is the second one, so index 1. And then longitude would be same thing, but it's the index 0. Okay. So now when I click this, it shows up with this nice little park. But the X doesn't close it at all. And we need to take control of this event, and we need to update our state when somebody clicks the X to unset the selected park so that it stops showing this pop-up here. Before we do that, why don't we just get some more useful information inside of here? So instead of this a div that just says park, let's put in h2 maybe, and we will do the selected park dot properties dot name, and maybe we'll do a paragraph below that has selected park dot properties dot description. I have no clue why they thought they couldn't have a key that's longer than however many letters this is, but that's what it is. Cool. So now when I click one of these, it's showing which skate park I've clicked. It does work if I click a different one, it updates it to show the correct one. But we want to get closing it working. So what we can do is there should be some event that's like on, I guess it would be on close. So they're going to call this function when it triggers the on close. And what we want to do is call the set selected park and update that back to null. So now when I click on this and the button, perfect. It calls the close, which closes it on the map. Closes the pop-up. Cool. So I think we're almost done. The only other thing I wanted to show is that it would be cool if we had an escape. I'm clicking the escape key on my keyboard. It'd be cool if it closed the pop-up when we hit the escape key. So why don't we use an effect to do that? So we'll do use effect, and we'll put this here. So here's our effect function. And when do we want to trigger this? We only want it to happen once. So we'll use the empty array. And that basically, it's like the component did mount sort of thing. So the first time this component renders, it will call our effect. And we only want to happen once because we want to add maybe a key down listener on the window. So we only need to attach that event listener one time. So here we'll have a listener, which will take in our event and then do something. We'll finish that after. So what we want to do is we want to say window.addEventListener. We want to add it on key up, actually key down, we'll say. And then we'll tell it to call this listener function whenever that happens. So we don't want to sort of every key. We don't care about any key except the escape. So what we'll do is we'll put an if statement and e dot, I think it's key, we can say is equal to escape. So when the key is escape, what we can do is we can call our set selected park, and we'll set it back to null. So if there was one open, it will set that back to null, which will cause it to disappear. So now when I open that and I click escape or I press escape on my keyboard, it closes. So that is working well. So the last thing just in this effect I wanted to show is, say this app component disappears. So it stops being rendered within React, and we want to clean up this event listener. We no longer care about listening for the escape key, so we want to basically remove that event listener. We can use the effect cleanup function to do that. So we will return a function which will be called on the cleanup of this effect, which in this case, it's basically when the app component is unmounted. So what we want to do is say window.remove event listener, and we want to remove the key down listener and specifically this listener here. So that's the reason why I put this into a variable, so that I could reuse this variable which references this function here, both when I'm adding the listener but also when I'm removing it. So I think that's basically all we need to get up and running with this Mapbox demo. And what we've done is we've gone from like a blank screen in 15-20 minutes. We have a fully styled map with all the skate parks of Ottawa, showing the markers here, a little custom image. When you click it, we are displaying a pop-up which contains the information of the skate park which was just clicked. So you can click around and it updates the information for that. And we've added a key down listener on the window, so that if I hit the escape key on my keyboard, it will trigger the set selected park, set it back to null, and stop showing the pop-up. So that's it for this video. I hope you'd enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm thinking of doing the same sort of one, but using Google Maps next, so that you can sort of choose which one you want to work with. I personally really like this Mapbox one because I really like this React Map GL library from Uber. They've also here got some pretty cool examples of different things you can do. So they've got like a marker pop-up one, which is, I guess, probably pretty similar to what we did. But they've got other ones like locating the user, where it will ask, I guess if they click this, it will ask the location and put that on the map. They've got sort of on different hover things crazy going on. They've got heat maps that you can overlay on top of your map. So there's lots of cool stuff going on here. Give it a try, play around with it. And I will link to the code in the description in the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.